Is
Okay.
someone trying to use the host?
I don't know what's happening. I think the same Zoom might have been shared across multiple groups. Someone else is also trying to log in, is what I believe. Uh,
Yeah, okay. We lost your connection, so.
yeah, I got kicked off myself a couple of times. I don't know what's going to happen next. I
Yeah.
think there is someone else trying to use the same Zoom from Linux.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that is happening. So that's why we are getting kicked off. Because when I try to log in again, it says that end other meeting. It gives me a notification saying, do you want to end other meeting? Which means someone else is trying to use it at the same time. So they are
You
getting
probably
possibly
kick them out.
yeah, I probably kicked them out. So
So I asked it to Michaela to join again.
okay. Sorry about that, folks. This is weird. Never happened before.
Yeah, strange. I sent a text to Michaela, but
Yeah. Thank you.
no problem. Hmm. Maybe he's in trouble to get in, so I don't know.
Mm. Oh, looks like someone is, yeah. If you look at Team Oran, there is someone who are trying to use the meeting room, and I think they were trying to use the meeting room, the Team Oran group.
Oren? Oh, wow.
Oran. Yeah. So maybe they were kicking us out.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, I'm going to send them a meeting, send them a notification.
Okay. Oh. No response from Michaela, so. So maybe we can do second agenda first until.
Yeah. No, let's wait for a minute more if she
Yeah,
might.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's. Okay, Shiv, do you want to start your agenda item? Shiv, would you mind getting started with your agenda item? Meanwhile, I've sent a note to the Team Oran group. Hopefully, they were the ones who
Sure.
were trying to use it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, I just have a single diagram. I think last time itself we had discussed a vault along with Nephew, and so the basic idea is that we want to demonstrate that particular scenario, whereby we have two separate workloads on different clusters which are accessing a given secret in vault. So let me just quickly pull up that diagram.
Mhm.
Just a minute. I'll just.
Sure. Any chance the document that Manuel was presenting, is it available online somewhere? If we can get the link, because I would like to use that diagram that she was showing.
Rahul, don't worry, I have the diagram, but I'm gonna talk to Manuela.
Sure,
If she
sure.
cannot join
Sure.
here, we
Sure.
have a diagram, so okay, so we
Cool.
can
Cool.
share after offline. But
Got it. No problem.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so it's so what we are planning for the demo is basically essentially this particular diagram where we have a vault which is there, and then we have a workload, and then we are accessing this particular part is basically accessing the vault secret, and then we have another workload cluster which is accessing the same secret. So that way, one particular workload could be producing secrets or writing secrets, and the other workload could be accessing the secrets. So we are not attempting over here changing the basic cluster flows which are there as of now. Like for example, Bootstrap controller is writing kube configs and things like that. So we're not attempting that. But then whatever we show as part of this demo is anyway aligned with that end goal. So the same work can be reused when we finally, try and show, workload identity for a Bootstrap secret controller. But so before that, we just want to, quickly try out this thing, and then and we also understand basically, for example, installing Spire within Nephew, there are some issues because the pod security standards are already there as part of Nephew. So how do we modify it for a given namespace? So there are a bunch of small issues which I think we will resolve, and then it will be useful for the demo. So that's what we are thinking. So yeah.
So, Shiv, what do you mean by pod security standards? What's the relation there?
Yeah, so for example, already in Nephew as of now, there is the PSA, this one, right? Pod security admission. So those, it's already in baseline as far as I understand. So, and then the Spire server has got some additional, rather the Spire agent has got an additional requirement whereby it needs a host path volume, basically because it basically accesses, there is a Unix socket which is there, which and so that sort of, I'll just quickly show that particular aspect.
So basically, in the for the agent, if we deploy an agent to a regional cluster, for example, using the free 5GC example, I tried that. Agent was deployed on the regional cluster, and it gave warnings such as seccom default is not set and all that. But that is easy to implement. The warning, that error that it was giving, that we needed to set the namespace to pod security standards to privileged instead of baseline, so for it to work.
I see.
Yeah,
But
so
okay, got it.
yeah, so there is a Unix domain socket access which is needed on the Spire agent when it does, on which it provides the workload API. So for that, we need the host path volume. So
Correct. So host path volume is specifically denied by the default restricted PSA.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So that's one aspect. So yeah, so we want to sort of discover this sort of things, and then resolve them, and then provide for them in the final design. And so then we have some more clarity, and then so that's the intention.
Shiv, would it make sense now to create a page specifically towards enlisting all the issues we might be facing? Because these are important issues, right? Eventually, so all the experimentation issues that we figure, would you be open to actually editing a wiki page on our wiki page, on the SIG Security wiki page, maintaining a wiki page for this?
Yeah, definitely. I think whatever issues we face, we can share it, and even for our own understanding, it will be nice. Yeah.
Perfect. So what I'll do is I'll create a wiki page and check if you can edit it.
Okay.
You and Prashant should be able to edit it. And
can you show the previous one? I have one question, Shiv.
Yeah. So this diagram. Okay.
Yeah. Just quick question. This is great. The one question, Spire OIDC discovery service discovery document endpoint. Is any link to OIDC server or in the future, or what's that connection? I tried to make connection to your Keycraft OIDC with this one later on, but this is separate.
This is a different service, basically just for verifying whatever tokens that they're actually valid tokens.
Local too. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's basically the I think the endpoint. It's basically a standard config, well-known auth config endpoint, which is to be provided for OIDC
Okay.
verification.
Sorry, guys. Did you
Yeah.
hear me? I spoke for 20 minutes and I was out of the meeting at some point.
No,
and,
no. Yeah, we lost the meeting connection. So yeah,
But at the beginning, or at least you had the possibility to listen to me at least for a few minutes.
Yes,
Yes.
few minutes, then chopped up, and then we rejoined. Yeah, and and then you're not there. So anyway, we switched the agenda. So
Yeah,
she's going to
okay,
handle
no
first,
problem.
and then we're gonna give yours. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So does
Okay,
this
thank you.
does this look okay, or any feedback on this, or yeah?
It's good. This is good.
Oh, sorry. Could you give me just a few summary of your? I was really interested in this.
Yeah.
Sorry for
Yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah, sure.
Really.
Yeah, sure, Manila. So basically, what we are doing is that actually last week also we had shared this particular diagram, right? And so now we are actually working on a prototype or a demo with this particular configuration with Nephew. So that we discover all whatever issues are there and we are able to fix them. And so the idea is that we have workloads across clusters which are basically accessing secrets in Vault. And so that way we demonstrate that, intercluster, secret access is possible, that is across clusters. And then we can use the same concepts. So in this demo, for example, we'll not be showing, actual kube config being written to the Vault and so on. We'll in general show workload pods, which are basically accessing Vault. And then also we'll use those same ideas. And then finally, once we have this prototype done, then we'll use that to actually make changes in the Bootstrap secret controller and so on for writing and reading kube configs. So that's another, we'll not be attempting that right now. So right now we'll just show two workload pods and with the sidecars basically, available in the workload pods, and they should be able to, read and write secrets from Vault. That's the idea. So, and then, yeah, we'll be updating a wiki page and with any issues that we face, and then that way we'll share, how the progress is and what are the issues which are occurring with this particular prototype. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. And so
Okay.
I'll hand over this one to Manila. Yeah, sure.
Hey,
Thank you.
Shishu, is this diagram available in some public document?
Yeah, actually, no, I've not put it because I'm looking for a particular place to put it. I think the wiki, if I have the edit.
Yeah. So can you check whether you can edit that wiki page, folks? Can you check whether you have access to it?
Yeah, sure.
For editing purpose. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Can you send the link again? I got disconnected.
Okay.
Where do you take the token? When you go to the the secret. Okay, sorry.
Correct. Yeah,
Could you
so,
come back just a second to the picture?
Sure,
I was looking for this picture because last time you presented, but I wasn't there. Okay, when you go with the first step in the HTTP request, you put inside the JBT token to authenticate toward the Vault.
Correct.
And this JBT token is taken from?
It's basically the SPIFFE verifiable
Is this
identity.
spiffy one?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
this spiffy one?
yeah, right.
That the Vault has, because Vault is a workload as the others. No, because
No, no, no.
you are you workload pod and you present yourself with the token.
Exactly. And then
Okay,
Vault,
okay,
Vault
okay.
basically checks with the Spire OIDC discovery service.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay, and this Spire OIDC discovery service is what it is. I mean, is something that is provided by Spire itself, is something that is implemented to have the OpenID Connect on board, or
that's correct.
what
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah, that's correct. It's provided by Spire itself, and it's a separate service, but it's an image which is provided by Spire. And so it's a Kubernetes service, and then it's accessed from externally, and then it basically verifies whether a given spiffy ID tokens are valid or not, and then and it gets back to Vault. Vault then basically generates client tokens and then gives it to the workload pod. The workload pod eventually gets a secret, but it uses the client token rather than the.
Okay, and okay, okay. But this OpenID Connect discovery service could be also some. I mean, this is really similar to an AIM from the protocol perspective.
Yeah, but then it needs the root, the bootstrap, this one, right? Root certificates. So it has to
I mean, the
yeah.
API, the well-known OpenID configuration is exactly the one that you use against the other item because it's part of the protocol. It could be also the AIM is a sort of duplication of it. It's the same.
Yeah, so basically because, so in that sense, because we are trying to access an external entity with OIDC Federation, and we need workload identities to be interworking with OIDC. So that's the reason.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was that point which I was trying to make, right? Because I think a few sessions back, I was basically having query regarding the client credentials which are used, right? Because
yes.
workload. So that sort of basically will not be sufficient because we need to use actual workload identities over here. When we are accessing a secret, like for example, between two clusters. So we need to use the workload identity as such, because that's the one which is verifiable, and that is the one which is attested by the Kubernetes cluster. So we can use that itself to directly access Vault. So that's the point. Yeah, and definitely.
You mean this Spire OIDC discovery service is required because the format of the JVT token include the claims specific for the workload identity, the one that you define as pod ID, namespace ID. Okay, I don't remember by heart. This is the specific spiffy JVT token. It's not just an access token, a JVT access token, is something more.
Yeah, it's basically a spiffy.
The spiffy one.
Yeah,
the spiffy one. Okay.
There's a spiffy ones. Yeah. So that way, and so you require the root trust bundles right over here to do the verification. So that's why it has to be packaged along with the Spire server, and that's how the verification will happen. So
okay, this is the point where I think we need to combine what is AIM and maybe convince AIM to generate to check this. But anyway, okay, this is clear. Very good.
Yeah, Manuel, actually, why you're not connected, it's the same question I asked the Shiv. That was the my question. So what's the connection to IIM here? But looks like this is focused on workload. But later on, I think the end-to-end we may need to some kind of a mapping with the link. I think we need to talk about. For now, it's fine. But I have the same question. I think if someone knows about YDC protocol, probably they will ask the same question. So that's why I asked before. Same question, right? So
Yeah, and I have one slide. Sorry for give me before that. I didn't see that I was disconnected, but I have one slide exactly on this point on how to interact, how to say, because so far everyone follow its own topic, that is workload identity or AAM. But then we need to understand which relation we have and if everything is required.
Definitely,
Indeed.
Manuel. I think that will be useful. Yeah.
Once our requirement, there's just some indication about how to link the two things together. But there's a way to the Spire server. There's a configuration, and also the IAM, they can generate specific ID. They have some link mapping. So once I look at that, but I think it's possible to me. But anyway, we need to study further in my opinion.
I'm sure that is possible because you can always add a custom claim, and this could be custom claim in the token. For sure, it's possible in Kicklock. Then I don't know if everything else is supporting it. I mean, having also the specific claim entities that you define in the document in the.
Okay.
Can I just ask you? Okay, let's finish. But at the end, can I just ask you some thought about what I said? And if there is something missing, I can have just a short addition. Because it was really important to me to collect your opinion on what I said.
So, sorry, Manuel. So, what was the question?
Yes, more or less. At the end of this, could I come back just for one slide to collect your opinion on my item presentation, meaning that I cannot repeat everything because we go out of time, but just to understand if this is in line with your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll stop the sharing then. Yeah.
Okay, it's finished now. Okay, sorry, really, before I don't know how I didn't see. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
so we lost you at first slide itself, Manuel.
Page 9.
Yeah.
Page 9.
Yeah.
Page 9.
Yes.
Okay, I try to do a better summary to avoid to lose time. Okay, we have
actually, I'm sorry, actually you're at page 8.
8. Oh, at the beginning then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
at the beginning we said, okay, the main question is, we prepare the requirement about the AAM, but then let's say if this is really important to be to a sort of negative test, why this AAM is so important in FU2. And I thought a lot, and there could be reason that we need to validate together. AAM could be internal, external, maybe this is clear. And I put internal just for architecture reference, but it could be external. But the important point here is that typically when we have AAM, we also have an ingress and API gateway. The ingress is the one that terminates the TLS, and the API gateway is the one, typically, at least in Ericsson, is like this, is used to expose the API on the external world, and also to collaborate with the AAM for the airbag enforcement. But then the question is, if I use Kubernetes API, and everything that I need to access from the external client is to go to Porch and call some API that is an extension of Kubernetes. We really need all this infrastructure, the ingress, the API gateway, and the AIM, because if we can go directly here, maybe we don't need it. But then the question is, but at some point, Nefio could be not only the Porch server here and the extension of Kubernetes, but also something else. We're going to have some other services here that required something different. So let's say, then we have two use cases. First one is when we have just the extension of API, the Kubernetes API server with the Porch API. And for this, I go with my client application that could have a human user or CLI machine to machine. Do you are there? I'm still connected. Really? Please. Okay. Okay. Sorry, but it's second time. Okay. So I have that this client want to authenticate, go to the ingress controller. Ingress controller forward the request to the AAM to collect a token with the client credential or authorization code flow. And then this token come back to the client that really call the API that want to access to, putting this token. And then we go to the API server, and we can use this exact token to authenticate also here, because the API server could be configured to check with the AAM if the token is the valid one. And then we use a field inside that token as a user inside the API server, and to have the airbag related to that specific user, and then give the permission to access to the resources, the Porch resources that we need to add to. Okay, this is perfect. We use the AIM, but maybe if we have just this use case, it's not so mandatory to have all this infrastructure, because the API gateway is not so required. Obviously, we can leverage also on the API gateway to have another layer of airbag, but it is not so mandatory, because we can use the native airbag in the Kubernetes. But as I think we have also some other services here that is not based on Kubernetes, but on some other REST API or something else. In that specific case, then the collaboration between AIM and the API gateway is really mandatory, because here there is the airbag enforcement. And then the flow is that I go to the client application with, again, the human user or the machine-to-machine client credential, go to the ingress, and the ingress, instead of routing the request directly to the API server, in this specific case, go to the API gateway where I register the API that I want to access to. Then I have the token from the AAM, I come back with the token, and then I access to the API provided by the other services here. In this specific case, really I need an API gateway, is mandatory in this architecture. And I can have both the use cases, using the ingress as how to say, a reroute point to go to the API gateway for other services, and to the API server for the pure Kubernetes-based resources. Or also having always to API gateway and use the API gateway to go to the API servers too. Anyway, in this case, it's mandatory. And what I think I understand from you last time is that you see that at some point we're going to have other services in Nefio. And also maybe that if we think to the Git adapter, this is an authentication is required toward an external system, and this could be based on the AIM. So this Git adapter could be as another services, and the same is for OCI adapter. So we already have two examples of usage of the RBAC, that is this one on the NBI, instead of in addition of the Kubernetes based one. And then as last point, we have that when we use a deployment mechanism that could be Flux, config sync to access to the workload cluster, also here we have authentication, and also here we use or the service account token on or once we have an AIM that is a more consolidated manager of token, we can base the authentication here on the AIM token, okay? as we can propose to do here in the API server of the management cluster. This could be true also for the workload cluster. And then here there is my question, how this could be related to these PIFI identities, and maybe now is more clear as you presented the demo. And last point is that, again, this AIM could be used to authenticate when we need the authentication toward the API server in the node attestation, when we need to check if the API token review is possible using a token. This token could be a service account token as in the proposal, but also a token is provided by AIM. Okay, so also here is as other services. But again, and here I see the relation that we have. And also it comes here what you presented when you check against the SPIFFE services for the OpenID Connect protocol. That could be AIM again configured to have the required claim for such a token. Okay, I finished. Now this time I hope you'll be able to listen to me, and I'm really interested in your comment.
The one question, Manuel, if we go back to number 10, actually number 10, yeah. So this big box is a nephew management cluster. So everything is Kubernetes based, right? So other services not based in Kubernetes, can you give some example? What can be?
Other services can be Git adapter and OCI adapter, as I said in the last slide, but also something else as a certificate manager or user management, or some, how to say, the common feature that typically are not functional. A lot of services related security typically are of this kind. In the platform that we use in Ericsson, there are a lot. Again, the example are certificate manager, user management, also HashiCorp Vault, as we said.
I understand.
You use OpenID Connect, Spire, whatever, but AIM could be used
understand.
for that.
Understand. So my question is, other services you see inside the nephew management cluster or could be outside of the nephew management cluster? Just that's the main question.
Inside.
Okay.
Inside, meaning part of the nephew, and I need AR service. The characteristics are that are deployed inside the nephew management cluster and need to expose their services outside. So they need some sort of authentication and authorization.
Okay, thank you. You clarified. Yeah, okay. That was...
So one quick question over here. So basically, from what I understand, right? So you have user identity which are being given out, and that user probably would have some authentication, right? I think there'll be some way,
It could
and
be.
then
It could be configurable. In some cases you have, in some other not.
okay, and then basically the user keys in the passwords or whatever it is, and then that is authenticated by the IAM. Is that correct?
Yes. Let me say that as a requirement, we can have in AIM the possibility to configure for each specific user the possibility to have a single factor or a multi-factor authentication. And anyway, we go first time, and typically the first factor is the usual credential. So you are redirected to a login page where you put the credential. And if a second factor is configured for that specific user, another redirection is required to ask for a one-time password, for example, or something else, also some biometric data. Then in that specific case, depends on the system that you have.
Okay.
The one clarification now is when the user initially client they have a credential, typical user ID password. And when coming into the system, English controller, they map into IAM. If they don't have any required token, and they just reroute back to, and and then the reroute during the reroute protocol. That's OIDC protocol. Then they generate the token, and then once generate token and coming back second, the client application to Ingress, then they know it has token. Then they just identify the token. So.
Oh yes, but this is true for every kind of authentication. If you look inside the code, the step of an authentication flow in any OpenID Connect based token flow, you see that the first step is check if the token is already there, check cookie,
Right.
okay? So if this is
Same.
valid, for sure you don't go again in AIM, but you use it till the time that it expires.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, but the point is, you think that at some point we're going to have some other services, because I think that this infrastructure in that case is really important. And as I am in Ericsson, I've been there for so many years, and I used to have it. I'm not sure that this is the only possibility. So I'm so interested in understand if you think that at some point Nephew system is not just an extension of Kubernetes, but we're going to have this. Do you have an opinion? Yeah.
I have a question in the context of slide 9. Can you go to
9,
slide 9?
yes,
Yeah.
sure.
Unless someone else has any question in the context of this slide, can we? Okay. So here this model is kind of interesting because basically the leg pointing towards point number 8
Yes.
is basically Kubernetes API server connecting to IAM.
Yes.
And is this through a validating webhook or something like that, that it will connect to IAM? So I'm trying to understand what is the model here.
Okay. Yes. This is used when in the parameter of creation of the cluster, you put some. There are parameters that are okay. I don't know exactly by heart, but there is OpenID issuer, OpenID URL. There is the claim, and there is the certificate for the TLS. And that's all. But okay, I can. This is just by heart, but I have somewhere, and I can share. So if in the parameter of the cluster, I have this configuration. The API server, when you use a context where a user based on this, it go to the AIM with the well-known API, the same that you put in the workload in the demo today. Okay. The
So-
API server is able to check against the AIM if the token is valid.
Yeah. So let's assume that this ability, of course, Kubernetes API server has this ability where it can go and check an external identity pointer for IAM. So once Kubernetes API server goes and checks on point number 8, after it goes directly to point number 9. What is the role of API gateway here? So you're saying that it's completely
in this case, the API gateway has no role because API gateway typically collaborate with the AIM to have the airbag enforcement. In the case of Kubernetes API server, we can leverage on the native airbag, the Kubernetes airbag. So inside the token, there would be a specific claim that is the user, and that user is related to a role and a role binding in the as for the service account, but using the token that is produced by AIM. The advantage here is that AIM is the one that is the best one. It's a job to take care of the lifecycle management of the token, of the session, of the fact that could expire. Okay, all this stuff. But then the airbag, at least in my view, at the moment, is better to leverage on the native airbag of Kubernetes. What we can do is having a double level of airbag. Maybe having a first role here in the API gateway with maybe just give the access to the API server in general, some Kubernetes admin role, whatever, define here between AIM and API gateway. And then only when this is enabled and you have the permission to go, and then you go here and you use some more fine-grain airbag, because maybe here we can distinguish really between an API and the other, okay? But this is not mandatory. We can go directly also here and forget about the API gateway. And this is the reason why I said, okay, but then if we don't need it, we can go directly to the API server, then maybe also the AIM is not so important. But then it comes to me that we're going to have other services for sure in the real world of production.
I think the page 9 just describing the use case not using API gateway. Now, page 10, the manually gave us use case for API gateway. So
yes,
that's why there's number, but yeah.
You're right, but this is really mandatory because the other services typically are not, they don't have a native airbag as the Kubernetes API server. They need something that does the work, the access control for them. Instead, here we can leverage, okay.
I understand that. Just to try to give the page 9 and 10 differences.
Yeah, one quick point. So basically, what I'm understanding is basically user is trying to access, Kubernetes. That's one use case. And for that use case, we really don't, I mean, API gateway is optional. But then when a user is accessing other services, we need an API gateway to enforce RBAC.
Exactly.
Then, so what exactly are those other services? I think because I see, for example, let's say we got Git or OCR registries and stuff like that. That's basically, in some sense, it's not users, right? These are workloads which are trying to access external this one. So do you see JIT or JIT servers or OCA registries as other services over here? But that doesn't seem likely. I mean, users probably do you see them or CI/CD pipelines pushing to JIT or
we can add here, we can modify the slide here to add other example, as Byung was asking before. I think he's right. We need to clarify that it's not just a Git adapter and OCI adapter. It is all the a lot of services that are not Kubernetes basis could exist. As here we can put, as I said, KMS, the HashiCorp Vault, or Certificate Manager, or if I have some service to configure some user client on top of AAM, something local to do it, or
Okay, so
more
yeah,
or
you
less
provide
this.
VM. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, so you provide a single
In
RBAC
some
for, let's say,
cases,
Vault, and yeah, got it. So actually, other services can also be other clusters, right? Let's say, because
And also the other cluster, but for this we need some more. I'm really sorry that I lost the first 20 minutes, but for the interaction with the workload cluster, we need to understand together what we can take from Spiffy that I think are really valid, and how we can relate the Spiffy infrastructure with this AIM instead of just the service account token or something very, very specific.
no,
We can
so I
use
mean,
just this AIM to generate the token.
no, my point was more like, you might have users themselves who have got accesses to some clusters. Let's say, some users have got access to the management cluster, but some other users can access only the regional clusters, right? I mean, because there is a hierarchy over there, right? So
yes,
in that sense, that's why probably that other services maybe, might be other clusters, but it's relevant for user identities also. So, you might have some users allowed to access some clusters and so on. Maybe.
Okay. And for this, we can have different option, having a different AIM for the workload, for some a subset of workload cluster with that specific user of it, or anyway using a unified AAM to keep all the user, and user that could access to the workload, or user that could access to something else. Let me say, there is always the airbag that provide us this.
Yeah, so even for accessing workloads, right, or workload clusters, the same user identities can be used, right? I mean, there's nothing stopping you from using the same identity, right? So
the same identity. Okay. In this infrastructure, you have the same identity on different workload in different clusters. No.
No. See, what I'm trying to say, I mean, why do we need, let's say, a user trying to access a given workload? So let us say, even if that is there, you can use the existing RBAC mechanisms only, right? I mean, you really don't need the Spiffy part for accessing the workloads, right?
Right. Yes.
But one thing, for example, right? So you're creating Spiffy ID, and then there is OIDC token coming through this OIDC protocol. Once it's coming into the inside, then now they want to access workload, and then for the access, for example, I think the Spire can configure mapping between the OIDC token and then Spiffy ID. So there's just, I saw some of the mapping inside the Spire. That means the user coming in, and then they finally they hit the Spire server, and then they just looking at the mapping table, and then they know which one to access which workload identity, and then they, if possible, can support multiple cluster. So that's why I just tried to make a connection, but
Yes, but an issue that I see is that this is asynchronous, meaning that
understand.
when I create my stuff inside the porch, whatever it is, that maybe at some point require deployment of a workload in
Folks,
a
I think
cluster.
I think folks, I need to cut off this discussion. Unfortunately, you know, that's
It's
fine,
six,
yeah,
it's six.
fine.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
But
we need to cut it.
I hope that
Yes, this
after
is
the
very
face-to-face
useful.
meeting,
This is extremely
on
useful.
discussing.
Real.
Yes, and please give me comments also offline
Yes.
during this
Yes.
period as we skip next Tuesday. And
Yep.
I can work a little bit more trying to understand better what is
Yep.
because me too, I'm not convinced. It is just to
No,
to
this
have
is
someone
certainly
else
Yeah.
on security to discuss with. Okay.
Thank you.
This
Thank
is good.
Yeah.
Shiva, I put the chat that this is I'm just looking into. I think that we need to work together. So later on.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sure,
Can you
sure.
send a link
Yeah.
to this document so that I can keep it on the documentation section in the Nephew wiki?
Yes,
thank you.
I
send
do
it on
it
Slack.
for sure.
Please send- yeah. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Have a good day, good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, May.
Bye.